Alright, so as you saw, snorkel's done. It's time to do this kind of piping here, which is, well, should be the easy bit. So I've bought a variety of different cast alloy elbows. I wish I bought a couple more actually. And Benny gave me this 3" 90 one, which will come in handy. So this one was originally going to go over to the intercooler for the hot side pipe. This pretty much works perfectly if I cut a straight coupler down nice and short. A little bit of straight pipe onto there, into that one. That's that. And then we move over to the hot side pipe. So this is a bitch because, you know, the centerline distance of this outlet of the turbo, if you put a regular, you know, tubular bit of pipe, or cylindrical bit of pipe I should say, it hits on this. So as you can see, I've kind of flattened it out. So that will go, it'll just, I don't really like the fact that it's that close to the valve cover, but for now it will do. I might try and put a little bit of a camber in it, and then I'm gonna have to, I want to bring it up to 2.5 inch, so that then, because I've got a couple of reducers for like 3" to 2.5 inch, which that's a 3" inlet. So I want to bring it up probably here, which I'll show you actually what I'm doing now. So what I've just mocked up was basically a bit of paper going from a 2.5 inch pipe down to roughly 2 inch. So what I'm going to do is get some scissors, cut that off square, cut that off square, and then I'll cut it down the guts, unravel it, and then I can wrap that around a bit of alley and essentially form it. What I'll probably do is use a bit of 2.5 inch, wrap it around it, cut out what I need to, and just close it up because it's already got that nice smooth line. So once I've got that, I'll bring it up to 2.5 inch. So yeah, I'll come back to you guys when I've actually got a bit of progress. I'm not going to bother filming it as I do it because I'm going to spend most of the time standing there thinking. So I'll see you in a sec. Alright, so next milestone. It's time to look at the throttle or venturi assembly. So as you can see, I've actually taken this off. I'll put it back really quickly. Okay, so that's how it sits, and then you normally have your elbow going. I'm having a real shocker today, aren't I? It's going like that. That's my intake temperature sensor, if you're wondering. So obviously take that off. It's all kind of sandwiched together. So what I'm going to do while I'm doing this is take this venturi valve out. So it's basically to create a vacuum, which basically helps with the EGR, which has since been deleted if you have seen in my previous video. So what I'm going to do is hopefully get this blade out. These Phillips heads are a bit munted, so it might be a bit of a prick. As for this little valve, I'm still waiting to find out whether or what I do with it, but I'm pretty sure I can just blank that off. So what I've done, as you can see, I prepared earlier I think it's about 6 or 7 mil alley plate that will sit on there like so. I'm just going to do a 2.5 inch hole saw, and then we'll have some kind of 90-degree elbow coming off there, which will run over to this side of the cooler. So I'm going to get that in, then I know what the actual route I've got to negotiate is. It's going to have to kind of come up over the top of the power steering reservoir and into here. Then this one is going to cut at an angle essentially, and it will reduce down to 2.5 as you can see, and then we'll come into the one that goes over the engine there. That's all good to go. You'll notice that I've welded a bit of straight pipe instead of putting an angle. I figured I'd do this because this setup's probably bound to change in the future. So having this enables me to do whatever without having to remake that whole thing, or chop it off and change the direction, etc. So all I'm going to do, if I had a 90 it'd be preferable, but for now I've got a 45, so I'll basically come across here and then 45 down. So I'll cut that down so it fits a bit better, And the other thing why I like to do that is when you've got two junctions that are facing the same way, it's very hard to get that bit of pipe off. Whereas if you got one that's, you know, I guess this way and then that way, you can lift that off and then pull it out. Well guys, the final piece of the puzzle. Wait till you see how good it looks under the bonnet here. So you might have noticed there's a tiny little weird knobby thing on here, so I'll show you what that's for. Can't remember whether I told you or not back when I first started filming this. Anyway, it's towards the end of the Arvo now, and all the fab work is done, I think. Well, all the major stuff anyway. I've still got to tap my IAT sensor, intake air temp, into, I'll probably do it into the intake manifold. I could do it in here, but I'd rather have it in there just to make sure that it is the true temperature going right before the engine. And also it's a good way to benchmark the temperature differences between you know, non-cooled, which I've had for a while, cooled. I'd like to do actually cooled without water, cooled with water, and then cooled and spraying meth. Well, not meth, but water. Actually, I'll just go away what that's for. But anyway, I'll chuck this in. Alright, here we go. Let's have a run through. So, what the fuck have I done? Airbox to turbo, nice and easy, 3" to 2.5". So then the hot side is a bit of 2" which is squashed down, a little bit of a camber in it, and I made up that custom reducer. It went from 2" up to 2.5", and then basically straight into the intercooler core. So as you saw, cut that off, 3" tight radius alloy elbow, that's on there. Coming around here, we've got a 3" to 2.5" reducer out of the cast alley as well. Nice sweeping bend here, down into the venturi, which you can see as well. As you saw before, it's now modified, and I've pulled the throttle plate out. Then this is the port for the water injection. So I'll give you guys a rundown in a sec, but essentially this little fitting goes in here. Really nice kit this, I'm very impressed. Benny bought the exact same kit and bought me one as well. Obviously I paid for it because they're quite expensive, but so yeah, all the air plumbing is done. A few little bits and pieces, I've still got to cap off like vacuum and boost lines that aren't used anymore. And I've also decided I'm going to take tomorrow off work. Now, when you work for yourself, you can make those calls. And then I'm going to try and get this radiator mounted up. At least pump it, you know, through the core and then through the rad, and does not have a reservoir. So it's not the best, but it's better than nothing. What else do I have to do? I also have to mount up that vacuum canister. Not sure where I'm going to do that. If I run out of time, I might just have to zip tie it somewhere just for now. I was hoping to kind of fit it down in here, but it looks a little bit tight, so maybe up on the firewall there. Let's have a look at the water injection kit. So this is what a hard day's fabrication looks like. Just fucking shit everywhere. Turn that off. Okay, so essentially this is the kit. So this is a Aquamist 2D system. So this can be used for water and water meth and basically whatever you want that you can put through it. But they're the best ones. I do run a system similar to this in my custom turbo Commodore Ute. I run the Snow Performance water methanol system. So yeah, on first opening this, it's a really nice and comprehensive kit. So got your full wiring schematic, obviously. I'll do a proper install video on this later. I'm not going to wire it up now. I've got enough stuff to do, but I thought I'd show you guys anyway. So obviously all the hard line, or hard plastic line. You've got your different size jets. So you get a 0.7, 0.8 and a 0.9. I've put the 0.7 in the car. So these are an O-ring seal with a 8 by 0.75mm thread, and they even give you the tap, which is fucking great because it's a very odd size tap. It's a fine thread, so there's some vacuum line or something. We've got a plug for the other end of the solenoid here, so this is what actually injects into the inlet. So a bit of pipe will go in here and connect to the hose barb of these nozzles, so you can kind of remote mount this, I guess. I'll probably just zip tie it to the intake pipe and have a little bit of tube on it. So that's a high-speed solenoid valve essentially. So that's that. There's a plug for that. You got the full wiring harness. I think this is to do with the pickup. I'm not sure, I can't remember. More wiring, really nice quality wiring as well. So there's a pressure switch. I'll go into all this later on. Got the controller, I think, and an LED, which is, I think that LED turns on when it's pumping, so you know that. More relay stuff. I've got a manifold assembly. Like I said, I'll run through all that later on. Looks like a pre-filter. And then this is the pump itself, which is a really nice unit. This is all pommy stuff, so it's good gear. So yeah, basically got your pump. I'll have to have a tank, which will be another custom thing. The tank will feed this. This will basically pump high pressure to the solenoid, I think. I can't remember the setup completely, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yep, I'm officially committed now. So we're making a bit of progress. As you can see, the grill has been, well, cut out. So it's not as simple as just cutting it out as always. I've already spent about 4 hours just tweaking things to make this work. So that's going to sit in there. It actually looks pretty tough. I've had to weld this fitting on because it was too much stuff in the way. What else have I had to do? I've had to pull out the engage, disengage switch on the winch because the handle wasn't allowing this to sit down enough. So what I've actually done is cut the handle off, and I've just welded a 17mm nut onto there. So I'll just have to get a spanner to undo it, which works out alright, but yeah, it's just going to be a slim line, I guess. Which is good. I've had to move the winch control box. That used to be back another 50mm, basically there. So I'm just going to do some new mounts for that. That's pretty much ready to go. The front grille has been cut. See, I'm pretty well at the point where I can drop this in. It's going to sit roughly there. It kind of lines up really well for where the grill would have been. I can still get to my bonnet release, which is good. So the next thing is I'm going to drill and put some M6 nut certs in the front rail here, over here, and I'll get some of this 50mm flat bar, bend that out to where it needs to go. It's pretty much basically, you know, level. So bolt them on, then I'll come over and tack and weld them onto the core. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Then we can start plumbing it up. I do need to make the reservoir, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time today, so I'm going to at least get it plumbed up and get it functional, and then I'll worry about that later. Well guys, here we go, all mounted up. So I've ended up using some countersunk stainless M5 machine thread screws there, just so they can be countersunk, because the hood latch, or the hood stay, just goes across there. So if I had a bolt head there, it would have been basically making it sit up. It's very close, so this latch here on the bonnet just touches here, so I'm going to slightly grind a little bit away, but I can shut the bonnet. So I'll show you guys how it looks. so I think I'm gonna have to spray it matte black because it kind of stands out like dog's balls. It doesn't really match the rest of this colour scheme of the car for obvious reasons. So, alright guys, so I'm in the process of stitching everything back up, and while that's out, I have since mounted my vacuum reservoir here with a slight little bit of modification. It fits perfectly. Nice clean silicone vacuum lines now. It wouldn't surprise me if the old rubber ones were leaking with these stupid spring clamps. Shittest things ever. I have got all these push lock lines run essentially. Also got the radiator core in. So as you can see, it's nice and black, nice and stealthy. I'll get some proper shots when I'm finished, but this is all mounted up, all the hoses are in, hose clamps are on. So the way that I've routed this, essentially, so we'll start at the radiator. So cooled water comes out the bottom outlet, through the front here, up into the bottom of the core, pushes up through and down, and you can see over there. I also made a cool little bracket, as you can see there, to hold the reservoir, or the coolant neck I should say. So it's got a pressure lid on it just like the radiator. So it would come in that side, through there, down, all the way through. So then it comes down here into the inlet of the pump, and then obviously gets pumped out, then back up into the top side of the cooler. So it will come down and then back through. Alright guys, well everything is hooked up that needs to be able to run the car. So one thing left to do, and that's blow it up and start it up, check everything's good, and then we're good to go. So people have said on the internet that the car is easier to start when the throttle blade's been taken out, so we'll see. Just glow it up, and very nice. It actually feels like it revs freer too. There's definitely a lot less turbo noise, which is a bit of a shame. Plenty of noise through the snorkel. I'll be very curious to keep an eye on the intake temperatures now. I reckon there's going to be a substantial difference. And the water's not even flowing yet. That's the job for tomorrow. When I finish work, I'll get home and do the wiring, test all that out, and then I've got a wheel alignment booked for 4 PM tomorrow. So yeah, at least I know it will drive now, so I can, worst case, take to get the alignment, come back and then fiddle with the rest of the stuff. So massive job, but it's so worth it. Well, we are done. I've just finished wiring up the pump. It's got water. I've bled the system, I think, as good as I can. Actually, I did forget one thing. I do need to set up an overflow, or a temporary overflow bottle. So I'm just going to use an old drink bottle. I'll just drill a hole in it and put a bit of hose in there, just for the time being until I can sort that out. But other than that, we are good to go. It took about, surprisingly, it took about 3 litres of water, which was pretty cool. You probably can't see it down here. I've got a couple of Deutsch connectors. So I've got a 7-pin trailer cable that goes through into the glove box. So whenever I do wiring, I always like to future-proof these days. So I've got plenty of extra wires should I need to hook them up. So you can see I've got potential for 8 pins. 2 of these are already taken for the intercooler pump. I'm sure another 2 will be taken for the, maybe even more than 2 for the water injection as well. So yeah, that's that. Runs into here, all messily behind there, nice and hidden now. And I've got this little rocker switch, which I'm such a freaking idiot, I grabbed an AC one so the illumination doesn't work. But I ended up getting the coin thingo and cutting the actual coin slot out, and this fits like a treat. So there we go, intercooler pump on and off. So that's basically it for the time being. So the real test will be tomorrow when I'm taking it on a long trip. I've done this trip before and monitored the temps. I'm expecting to see a pretty massive difference and improvement, and hopefully I can hold power all the way up the hill now without cooking everything. So I'll probably do a video on this weekend, so I'll report back then. But yeah, everything's worked perfectly. For some reason with diesel 4-wheel drives, you do your work, you finish it, start it up, no problems. Same with Reese's 60 that we did. Whereas you do like all these crazy custom high performance, high power cars like I've also got, there's always a problem. Thankfully there wasn't on this one, so hope you guys enjoyed this and kind of found it somewhat inspiring or educational, or you know, whatever you got out of it. So yeah, I'll report back with some solid stats, I think. So stay tuned.